CLNS.com, the career hub for tech.
All right, Mike Antonellis back on the Saturday Morning Jab. We have got our guests on the line from CLNS Radio, Brandon Paul. They call you B. Paul. Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me on this morning.
You are quite the popular guy here in Maine. We were getting a lot of feedback about having you on the show today, so that's really good. You guys have made a big influence, and we got a lot of listeners that are excited to have you on.
That's great. I heard Mad Dog prior to coming on the show. Mad Dog's a great caller of ours, so really excited to be on because I am from Maine, so glad to be on the Big Jab.
All right, Brandon, let's just get into your background a little bit and where you've come from in this business to get here to this terrific website that's got great shows. You guys got a great blog, but the coverage is great. I see you guys on Twitter every night, so let's kind of go from the beginning and how you get to where you are.
Pretty much just started out as an amateur blogger back in college, freshman year. Started up a blog, had opinions on the Boston Celtics, and I wanted to get them out there. So I started there, started networking with other bloggers, and I met Nick Gelso, who is the co-founder of CLNS Radio. We had this big idea to start our own sports network covering all of the New England sports. We still have a slight bias toward the Boston Celtics because that's where our roots are. But now we cover every single Boston sports team. We cover national events as well. We have an excellent staff of writers. I mean, I can't give them enough props. We wouldn't be nearly where we are today if it weren't for them.
Yeah, your post-game show is great because you guys do tweet that in ample time to get, and I think it's great to have any kind of reaction show to the Celtics. So let's go into some of those shows. Celtics Late Night, you have the post-game, Celtics Stuff Live, but you guys do have that great post-game, which I think is a good vehicle.
That is the driving force of our network is the post-game show following every single Celtics game. There's no other place that does something like that outside of the WEEI in Boston who host the games. So that's something we take a lot of pride in is the post-game shows. We have a large pool of hosts, so it's not the same people every night as well. You're going to talk to different people, different personalities. You're going to get different perspectives every night. Immediately following the game, win or lose, we'll be there. So that's like I said, that's the driving force of our network, and that's our baby. We couldn't be any more proud of that show.
Now, it's pretty cool, the technology of this. The call-in number, it's how this is all worked out of a central location, right?
That is correct. We can all host a show. We can have 3 hosts on the line at any time. We can have one in Maine, one in Pennsylvania, one in California, and then we even have callers out in Australia and overseas. So it really is the technology we use. Blog Talk Radio is fantastic and allows us to do a lot.
Brandon Paul joining us from CLNSradio.com. I do like bloggers now and internet being part of our media because I think it's important because the way I look at it, it is all about fans, and fans are able to get quicker content, and I think it's good that the papers have now gone to blogging, but to have radio now and give people the opportunity, and I'm sure Twitter helps, but to have this kind of avenue, it gives people just that quick time to call, and you guys are pretty good with your callers, and you've already built a pretty solid fan base.
We have, and I think the key is we try to look at ourselves as true media. We have professional writers. We have guys who have gone to college for journalism. We have those people, but in addition to that, we also have the fans. We have Mike the Scotsman, who starred on Return to the Rafters, who's just the most diehard Celtics fan you can find out there. So not only do we offer non-bias journalism as far as that goes, but we also try to give fans that only drink the green Kool-Aid or only buy or eat Fenway Franks or all that stuff, all the homers that love their home teams, we try to give them what they want as well instead of just the non-biased stuff that you're going to see on most media outlets in the Boston and New England area.
Brandon Paul joining us from CLNSradio.com. The Maine Red Claws up here, let's start with them. It's been an interesting little run as they have a chance to get in the playoffs, 1 game back with 4 to go, but the inception and the evolution of the D-League has changed with the CBA, and we're seeing some bigger names here, but the league is getting better, getting stronger, and I think it's going to be good in the long run.
It is. I love the D-League. I've covered numerous games in Portland for CLNS Radio, covering the Red Claws and keeping an eye on some of these guys, such as Fab Mello, Avery Bradley when he was down there, Chris Joseph, who was with them earlier this season. So it's terrific, and all the new rules they're coming through with, as far as players being able to even rehab in the D-League. We haven't seen any big names really do that yet, but the option is there, and I think the D-League's just going to continue to grow in the talent level. I mean, the talent on that Red Claws team this year, a lot of names that you know, a lot of 10-day contracts, Shelvin Mack, DeJuan Summers, just a ton of guys that very talented basketball players and have a realistic shot of being in the NBA very soon.
Brandon, why were the players so adamant about not doing the rehab? I know before that CBA, it seemed like I think it was that the NBA guys weren't a fan of doing that.
They probably aren't. I don't imagine a lot of NBA players want to play in an arena with only a few thousand people in it. Then they'd rather just rehab at the training facility and get thrown right into the lineup. I don't think you'll see. I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be awesome to see a Paul Pierce at the Portland Expo, similar to the way you saw David Ortiz at Headlock Field a few years ago. I just don't. It doesn't seem like the NBA players really want to go that route, and they'd rather just rehab and get thrown back into the lineup with a few minutes instead of, like I said, playing in front of a few thousand people.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense because in basketball you can scrimmage and get minutes in. Brandon Paul joining us from CLNSradio.com. The B-Paul's your radio. Hey, people even know you by your name here, your radio name. I like it.
I know, it's great. Yeah, B-Paul, that's what most everyone calls me on the network, so that's it.
I've been talking about the Celtics. You look at some of these games that they've not won. You can accept that Dallas is a tough place to play and great effort against Miami. But I was disappointed. When this team you're in the 6 through 8 slot right now, you can't lose to Charlotte. I know you're going to have those nights, and the New Orleans loss is disappointment. For me, those losses to those teams, I know it happens, but if you're trying to get out of that 7 or a possible 8 seed, that's where it gets disappointing for me.
It is. It's definitely disappointing to watch as a fan of the Celtics, to watch them drop these games to your Charlottes and to New Orleans. But I think these last 2 games, you just saw a really tired Celtics team. They going up against the Heat, they put their all into that game. They wanted to beat the Heat. They wanted to end the streak. And I think these last 2 games, you've really seen them. They've come out tired. They don't have the legs under them that they did in the Miami game and games prior. And don't be surprised tonight if they get blown out. That front line with Zach Randolph and Marc Gasol in Memphis, that's going to cause a lot of problems. So definitely, I wouldn't get my hopes up for tonight's game either.
No, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know they had a day off, but you're going. It doesn't matter. The travel to New Orleans, and that we know Dallas is good, and you're right. Memphis is good. Jeff Green, I said earlier, I guess you can understand. We saw Perk here. You can get why maybe the Celtics didn't see his ceiling. I mean, there was contract things to talk about too, but maybe we can see why Oklahoma City was willing to get rid of a young scorer. I just can't figure this guy out sometimes.
Very inconsistent. That's the only way to describe Jeff Green. 43 points against the best team in the NBA. He responds with, I believe it was 6 points against New Orleans. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but he's just so inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get night in and night out from Jeff Green. If he could become consistent, the Celtics are going to have a much better shot at moving forward and going far in the playoffs. Just a consistent 14, 16 points a game with a few boards. That's all the Celtics realistically need from Jeff Green for him to be successful coming off the bench. But these 6-point efforts just don't cut it. And one of our show hosts on the Celtics postgame show last night made a very good comparison. I don't know if you remember Caron Butler when he was playing with the Washington Wizards, but he was a guy coming off the bench who could go out one night and score 35 points. The next night he'd put in 5. So it's just trying to find that consistency from Jeff Green. Everybody knows the talent's there, the athleticism is there. It's just finding that consistency moving forward.
Brandon Paul joining us. He has a great company here, CLNSradio.com. They host you guys have so many shows right now, so I'm sure. What's the most popular show right now? Is the Celtics postgame?
Yeah, Celtics post-game, like I said, that's pretty much the driving force behind the network. But we also have, tons of other shows, Smack Talk Sports, the Block Party, the NHL Wraparound. We just have tons of shows. Even if you don't like the Celtics, I know a lot of people out there aren't green teamers, as Michael Felger would call them. But if you're a Bruins fan, we have the Wraparound. We offer Bruins coverage. Patriots fans, we have Patriots preview shows most of the time, especially once they reach the playoffs. So we pretty much have something for anyone, even if you're not a Celtics fan.
What do you think of the Patriots? I've been talking about the way the NFL does business. It's so drastically different than Major League Baseball because we're very critical of how owners do give up a lot of contracts for prior, where in the NFL it's the complete opposite, but it still doesn't make anyone happy.
Yeah, the whole Wes Welker, Danny Amendola situation, that's just a mess. You have all the sides coming out and saying different things that happened. I'm a Patriots fan. I don't follow it as closely as I do the Celtics as far as all the contract stuff, but I've just heard a bunch of back and forth. And then you have Robert Kraft coming out and making the comments that they would have rather had Welker. So it just seems like it's a mess there. But on the field, I don't think the Patriots are going to lose much with the swap there. And with Amendola being younger, being taller, being 3 inches taller, I don't believe they're going to lose much on the field from that.
No, and they didn't get a scrub here too, and we'll see how they build the rest of the team. And I like that they're starting to fill in gaps defensively. How about, did you guys do a whole a bracket party though between you guys at CLNS Radio?
We just did a small one. We didn't get anything big going. Mostly just staff members. We didn't really have. It comes up so quick, but we've all been keeping track of the madness going on. That the Florida Gulf Coast game last night going on during the Celtics game definitely had a lot of Celtics fans watching that one as well during commercial break. So that's just the number 15 seed beating a 2 seed. It's crazy because I remember as well that the University of Maine beat Florida Gulf Coast earlier this year. Yeah. It's just crazy to think about that.
All right, so what do we got coming up tonight? I'm sure after the game it should be a lot for us to follow you.
That's right. We will have the Celtics post-game show immediately following the game. You can listen to that and find out more details on our website, clnsradio.com. And also I do want to mention we are going to be having a relaunch of the site April 1st. So right now the site's a little bit out of whack because we are working with our developer to get the new site started April 1st. But still, it's functioning enough for us to get our great content out there and also to produce these shows. So that will be live immediately following the buzzer in Memphis tonight.
All right, Brandon, thanks for the time. I'd love to have you on again.
Great stuff, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
All right, I appreciate it. That's Brandon Paul, who is the founder. He designed this, clnsradio.com. And